Welcome to Pressure Points. Our topic is why is Apple stock only up 0.8% on what was a better than expected quarter, better than expected guide, and even a better expected read through into the June quarter. And the answer is, before I get into details, I think it's as simple as investors want to hear more about how AI is going to have a meaningful impact on their business. And I point that out because if you look at what they had reported and the guidance, it collectively says that customers are loving Apple products and they're feeling like they're doing a great job getting what they need from a financial metric standpoint. The company is delivering on better than expected profitability in a very difficult pricing environment. So that is all going really well. Customers are not looking or switching to some competitive AI device, but they're very happy. That's kind of one orbit. And the second orbit is a skeptical investor. And in some respects, I understand it and I understand how we got there. And just want to back up about a year because that gives us some context about how we got there. Actually, back up to June of 2024 when Apple Intelligence was announced. I think that actually started to lay the framework to tonight's stock reaction. And specifically is their optimism around how Apple Intelligence was going to rejuvenate, reaccelerate growth, become so fundamental, such a need to have feature. All of that excitement and then the substance of it really didn't play out. That misstep was un-Apple like to set a high bar and not reach that. And I think that set the culture for them wanting to talk less, basically don't set a high bar and let their actions speak for themselves. And I applaud that as a Tim Cook-like approach. But what it basically means is that we're in this vortex of a lack of any real substance in terms of what they're doing around AI. And the timing on, I'll just start there for kind of kicking things off with the call, is that as far as the update to the new Siri, which is code name for the new Apple Intelligence, all Cook said was it's coming this year. Now, this year could be next month. It could be in December. Like, we're not getting any sort of pieces there. He did talk about the collaboration they're having with Google and Gemini, and that's a positive, but kind of the substance around what those features are going to look like and how these products are going to be so captivating that we have to have them. We didn't hear any of that. We heard about them being optimistic around AI, but kind of the substance of that, it didn't really present itself. And for an Apple investor, these calls are precious. Apple probably keeps the lowest profile of any of the mega cap tech companies. And so investors just cherish these opportunities to get insight into what they're thinking. And of course, Tim doesn't want to talk about that because he wants to show the substance when it's ready to be seen. And so you create this gap around what the expectation is, what these investors are hearing on other large cap tech calls about how AI is transforming their business. And then it just feels like a different world when you step into the Apple call and it is pretty focused on just wait and see, it's going to be great. Like a further example of kind of, I mentioned the timing of Siri. Don't get any updates on that. Just something as simple as that we didn't get. But also when you look at they just acquired this QAI, Israeli AI audio company for about $2 billion. It would be great for them to have just mentioned, we acquired this company. It could be used everything from AirPods to phones to new types of wearables that take in the world around us and need audio as an important part of that. Like, that would have been an easy opportunity to talk about it. But because of what happened back in 24, I think that the default setting is don't say much. And so I am reluctant to feel so strong about this view because it doesn't feel like it meets the kind of the substance that I would like. But I think it's that simple. I think investors just want to hear more. They want to know that Apple has chops in AI, and as largely it's a wait and see for investors. And that's kind of the funk that we're into when it comes to how shares are reacting to tonight. So that's the pressure point. I'm going to take 3 steps back, talk about the quarter, talk about the guidance and give some context there. As I mentioned, a solid quarter. Of course, the most impressive number was China, up 38%. It had been down on average 5% each of the past quarters for the past 2 years. So we had this massive bounce back. It basically met its all-time high in terms of revenue since back in 2021. So incredible quarter in China, and just speaks to the Teflon brand. And even though it had gone through some tough periods, that the Chinese consumer still loves Apple's products and came back. But the news wasn't just the good news just about China, is that if you back that out based on my numbers, is they still grew the iPhone at 17% year over year outside of China. And the expectations were for 13. So they beat even backing out kind of the strength in China. And on the margin side, they had upside to margins. Now this pricing and the memory is a big topic, and they have some longer term contracts. They expect that to maybe have some negative impact on margin down the road, but overall they're doing a great job in terms of managing the margin piece. The other important takeaway is the number of connected devices or active devices grew just about 6.5% year over year. That compares to about 6.8% a year ago and about 10% growth 2 years ago. So still 2.5 billion active devices, still just an amazing base, large numbers, continuing to grow that well. And that kind of speaks to these two different worlds. The world of Apple's customers, very happy, doesn't need AI today, continues to upgrade and expand how they're spending with Apple. And I think that is evidence in that active device number. And so that was the December quarter. As far as the guidance, really good guidance. It was they expect 13 to 16% revenue growth in March. They were explicit about that. The street was at 10%. And the number could have been higher because they're capacity constrained in March. Effectively, December was so strong that it drew down inventory. And because of the memory environment, they're not able to ramp up production as fast as they normally would in the March quarter. And so my guess is they probably could have guided to 14 to 18% growth instead of the 13 to 16 that they mentioned. That means that the June quarter is probably going to go up too. The June estimates were looking for 6% revenue growth in June, and that's probably going to, I bet those street numbers go to 8% after tonight, and they ultimately probably print 10%. And so like the December, March, June quarters, all this very positive. The margin guidance for the March quarter was better than expected. Typically it is up sequentially, and they guided for it to be up sequentially again. But they had mentioned, as I briefly talked about a minute ago, that they could see some pricing pressure as they renegotiate these contracts towards the back half of the year. But that's could have an impact, a negative impact of 1.5% at the most, I think, on the gross margin level, and really insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Is that their customers are doing well, their revenue growth is doing well. And I think a lot of this goodness still comes back from that monster 2021, 4+ years ago, that long anticipated kind of echo effect from that big upgrade. We're seeing those customers come back. So that's the guidance, and just felt very good. Putting it all together, I'm surprised that the stock's only up 1%. Would have expected to be up 5% plus. And I think it just speaks to how much investors are yearning for more details about how AI is going to make a big impact on their business. And I can mention that at Deepwater, we invest in public and in private companies, and there's a lot going on AI wearables. Many of those companies are worried about Apple eventually getting into the space, and it's still their game to win when it comes to AI and wearables. Their customers are happy, and I look forward to seeing updates. We may have to wait a little bit longer for that new Siri. It might be middle to late this year, but believe that Cook will ultimately deliver the goods. On behalf of Pressure Points, I'm Gene. Bye for now.